Hello Year 2 and welcome to Monday's guided reading lesson, and I'm very excited that we are looking at a new text today. Normally if we were all in school we could get out copies of the text, have a look through them, and we can't do that today, so we're going to look at them slightly differently. So to start off with, I've got a little bit of a mystery for you. Here's our new book. I have hidden the title. So what I would like you to do is think, what do you think the title of our new book could be? So pause the video for a minute, have a look at the pictures. Can you guess the title? Should we have a look together? We've got a mountain here. I've never seen a mountain like that before in real life. And we've got some interesting trees. They don't look like trees in Britain. And some grasslands. Then we've got this funny white and green shape here. I wonder what that could be. It looks familiar, that shape. I think it might be the shape of a continent. We looked at continents in geography. And then at the bottom, we've got some people. And they're all wearing quite unusual clothes. And they're carrying long staffs or sticks. And in the background, it looks a bit like that mountain at the top. What did you guess? Should we have a look at the title? The book is called Introducing Africa. Now, I'd be amazed if you guessed the word introducing, but I wonder how many of you realised this was a book about Africa. Well done if you did. That shape there is the continent of Africa. This picture is some people who live in Africa, and this picture is a mountain in Africa. So now I want you to ask yourself a couple more questions. You can pause the video again. What type of text do you think this is? Do you think it's fiction or non-fiction? And how do you know? So before you do that, what is the difference between fiction and non-fiction? Can you remember? Fiction is made up pretend stories, and non-fiction is books about real, true facts. So which one do you think this might be? And how do you know? I wonder what you thought. I think this might be non-fiction. And I think that because the title, Introducing Africa, doesn't sound like the title of a story. It sounds like this book is going to be about facts about Africa. But also, I think the clue that there are real photographs rather than illustrations that someone's drawn is probably a good sign that this is a non-fiction book. So well done if you said either of those things. If you said something else, you could always email in and tell me. Before we read the book, shall we have a look at some of the tricky words? There are no words to sound out, I'm afraid, today. We've got 6 tricky words from the part of the text that we're going to be reading. So pause the video. How many of them can you read? Let's read through them together, and then they're so tricky, I'm going to make sure you know what they mean today as well. Famous, geography, culture, countryside, resources, and glossary. So well done if you read any of those correctly. Let's just quickly talk about what they mean. So famous, I'm sure you've heard the word famous before. That is somebody or something that's very well known by lots of other people. Geography is what we're doing in Topic at the moment. It's studying different places, different countries, the weather, the people that live there, looking at maps, all that sort of thing. Culture is a tricky word to explain. It's all about the beliefs and the actions and celebrations of a particular group of people. Countryside is the area of land where there's lots of wildlife and not very many buildings in a particular place. Resources is a tricky word until you know the sentence that it's in. If we're talking about resources in school, we're talking about things like whiteboards and pens and pencils. If we're talking about a country's resources, we might be talking about the things that that country can make or grow. And then finally, the glossary is a special part of a non-fiction book. So it's looking like we were right that this might be a non-fiction text. And we'll be looking at glossaries in a later lesson. For today, however, we are learning to make predictions and ask questions about a text. We've already started doing that here. I was asking you the questions and you were making the predictions about it. But as you read text, I'm sure you are asking yourselves questions like this in your head, probably without even realising it. So here's the cover of our book. I wonder if you've got any questions at the moment of what this book is going to be about, other than is it non-fiction or fiction? I'm wondering, is this book going to tell me what it's like to live in Africa and maybe what the landscape is like in Africa? So let's have a little bit of a look inside. We're not going to look too far today, but we're going to start with the first page in the book, the contents. Can you remember what a contents is? This is a list of all the topics in the book. So we can see that we've got about Africa on page 4. Oh, there's that word we looked at the beginning. Famous places on page 6. Oh, so it was talking about places that were famous. I did say that things can be famous. There's another one of our red words, geography. You can find out about that on page 8 of our book. So I'm assuming that's the geography of Africa. That is going to be really useful for our topic. So we'll definitely be looking at that page. Then we've got weather on page 12. Animals on page 14. Then plants on page 16. People on page 18. African culture on page 20. Countries on page 22. Cities and countryside on page 24. Oh, there we go. Natural resources and products is on page 26. We were talking about that word resources. So I think on page 26, that's going to be talking about the things that grow and are made across Africa. And then at the end, we've got some fun facts on page 28. Oh, a quiz on page 29. There's that word glossary on page 30. Find out more on page 31. And at the very end, an index on page 32. Now I'm just going to pause the video a minute because I am going to go and get the book to show you. I'm back, here it is. What I wanted to show you was how these words in the contents, here it is, link to the rest of the book. So let's look at the first one. About Africa is on page 4. So let's find page 4. Here we are. Can you see that at the top of the page we've got that subheading or subtitle, About Africa? We go back to the contents. After that, we've got famous places on page 6. So let's turn over and have a look at page 6. There it is, page 6. Famous places is the subheading or subtitle. So these words that are listed in the contents, they are all the subheadings or subtitles in this book. And the contents helps us find the part we want really easily. When we're reading a story, you need to start at the beginning and read it all the way through to the end or your story won't make sense. But when you're reading non-fiction, you don't have to do that. If you're really interested in animals, you could go straight to page 14 and read that first and find out about animals. If you were using this book as part of your topic work and you wanted to know about the geography, you could look straight on page 8 and just read that part of the book to find out the information that you wanted. So the content is really, really useful and it lists the things in the book in the order that they come. So the order that these are listed is page numbers, and you can see that because in the book most of the time there are 1, 2 pages about the same part, the numbers go up in 2s, just like in maths where we've been counting in 2s. So we're missing the page 2 because page 2 in this book is the contents. So they haven't put contents page 2. So we've missed that 2, but look, it does go up in 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. Oh, there's one missing there. What's on page 10? Page 10 doesn't have a subheading, and that's because it belongs with the pages before on geography. So that's a long part of the book. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 parts on geography. But then we are counting in 2s again. 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and so on. Down here at the end, we've only got 1 page for each thing, so the numbers go up in ones. So contents is really, really useful when you want to read parts of a non-fiction book, but not necessarily all of it. This will show you what information is on each page. And we're going to use it today to help with our WALT, which was to make predictions and ask questions about a text. And I've just realised we've got the wrong learning hero on there, so let me put the right one in for you. Let's go on to Learning Heroes. And we have got Connector. There she is. That's the right learning hero. And we're going to be doing some important connecting today, and we're going to use this work to connect later on in the week. So we've done lots of work on asking questions last term. You need to connect that learning to help you today. And later on, we're going to be using the questions we ask to find out the answers. So let's go back to your sheets. So this is the main sheet, the 2-star, 3-star sheets. And you can see that we have got on here the cover of the book and the contents, and you're going to use just those 2 pages to make some predictions. I would like you to list 3 things that you think the book will be about, 3 bits of information you think will be in the book, and you can use the contents to help you with that. Then the blue part says, what would you like to find out about these things? Write 3 questions that you can research using the book. So I would like to find out what animals live in Africa. So I need to write that as a question on my sheet, which means it needs a capital letter. What animals live in Africa? And it needs a question mark, remember, on the end. Well done if you said that at home. Okay, and then finally, the red section says, can you suggest some headings that you might find inside this book? Well, last year we didn't look at the contents at this point, so we had to guess the headings. So for this question, I would like you to choose the 3 headings you think are the most interesting and write those headings instead. Okay, let me just rub that out so I can show you. Oh, I know you're all laughing at home like you do when I do that in school. The 1-star sheet is very similar, but I want you to just concentrate on the questions that you would like to find out the answer to reading this book. So you're going to write your 3 questions here. Now, don't forget to email your work in, because I will choose the next pages that we look at based on which questions people ask. So I might not be able to choose the pages to answer everybody's questions, but I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. Good luck, everybody.